Good afternoon and welcome to our city council meeting. Today is Tuesday, December 3rd. It is 3:04 p.m. I call this meeting to order. And if we could also have the record reflect that we do have quorum. We will have agenda item 2, moving on to our invocation and pledge of allegiance. Would you mind,
Sure.
leading us? Okay.
No, I don't mind.
We do have Father Angel Montana from St. Joseph's Church that will be leading us in our invocation. Welcome, Father.
In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen. Heavenly Father, we invoke your help, and we need your help, your guidance. Send us the Holy Spirit to be with us in this city council meeting. It's going to be the last before Christmas, and we are in time of preparation for Christmas. Give us the light of the Holy Spirit to lead this meeting and to do our best decisions for the good of the people we serve. We ask this in the name of Jesus Christ, our Lord. Amen.
Amen.
Everyone, please turn and face the flag. Put your right hand over your heart. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Thank you, Father. Thank you, Mr. Molina. Okay. We will move on to public comments. I did not see any citizen comments, but we will move on to our city council for any public comments. Mr. Beltran?
I'd just like to welcome everybody who came out today, and that's about it. Thank you.
Mr. Molina?
Same, just welcome everyone in attendance. Thank you for being here.
Mrs. Boyd?
Yes, pretty much the same. Welcome, everyone. And since we're not going to see each other during Christmas and the New Year's, I'd like to wish everybody, since it's the time of the year for giving, caring, and sharing, and most of all, being thankful. I'm thankful for each and every single one of you up here today, and our citizens out there, thank you for being who you are. I pray for you every day, and I will continue to do that till the day I die. And Happy New Year to everybody, and may it be a blessed and prosperous one.
Mr. Garza?
Thank you, Mayor. My goodness, Father Time sure did sneak up on us, didn't we? The last meeting of the year, and we the time sure did fly by. Let's just put it that way. And as Sandra had mentioned, the holidays are around the corner, and for some of our constituents, this is their first holiday with the loss of a loved one, and that's hard for some of them. So if you know anybody that's in that situation, reach out to them and let them know that they're not alone during these holidays, and that definitely means a lot for people out there and their mental health. And of course, thank all of you all for being here today, everybody watching over the television and the internet. One thing we all know for sure is you are our bosses, and I am totally grateful that you keep an eye over all of us. So God bless you all, and God bless Alice.
Thank you. Well, welcome everyone, and I also want to say thank you to our employees because they prepared these really cool items, monogrammed, and they're preparing our float for our Christmas parade, so we're looking forward to that and our Christmas lighting. So everyone, Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year, and we'll see each other next year. So moving on to our consent agendas. All consent agenda items are considered to be routine by the City Council and will be enacted by one motion. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless a member of the governing body so requests, in which event the item will be removed from the consent agenda and voted on separately. 4.1, discuss, consider, and act upon approval of city council minutes for the November 12th, 2024 city council meeting. Council, any objections? Not, I'll entertain.
Mayor, I make a motion to approve the consent agenda as stated.
Second.
Okay, we have a first and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion passes. Thank you, council. We will move on to agenda item number 5, individual consideration. Do we have,
It's not listed.
do we have a presentation?
For
We don't have it
5-1?
listed. Is it 5-1?
public
Yeah, well,
presentation and discussion.
okay.
Okay, I wasn't sure where it was at.
Okay, agenda item number 5,
Sorry.
individual consideration. 5.1, presentation and discussion regarding LSR zoning and variances for stadium, including but not limited to water closets and parking. Mr. Esparza?
Yes, ma'am. Mayor and council, so we have an item that's, will be coming before you guys probably in January. This is in regards to the stadium that's going to get built, and PBK is here to give a presentation on the variance that they're going to be asking for. We wanted to put it in front of you guys already, and planning and zoning already, because they're going to have to be doing a rezoning. But, and when they rezone, they'll ask for these variances. And from a staff level, we've have several meetings with them, engineering ourselves, and the architects and their engineers as well, and we feel comfortable with what they're asking for on the variances. But we wanted to give a presentation already so you guys can see it before it comes through on the after planning and zoning for a rezone. So we'll have them give a presentation, and I think you have something in front of you guys.
Okay.
And
Who will be
Daniel?
present?
and Waylon will be able to
Okay.
assist also. We've been working on this together for a long time.
There it is.
As Mr. Michael said, it's a presentation. The stadium does need to go through the planning, the platting and rezoning process to be enacted as an LSR1 district. That district lays out that variances are granted through P&Z and finally by City Council. What we want to do is go ahead and present the goal of variance that we have here, so that ways we can get an idea of where we're heading in this direction, so we can turn in a set of plans, so when it's time to do so. And in order for them to progress on the plans, we need to know if it's something that we are getting closer to, or if we need to adjust anything in any kind of way to be able to progress those plans. David Iglesias from PBK is here to explain the numbers on this. What we're looking at here is doing a reduction in plumbing closets and also a reduction in parking. Originally, we did establish a 5-to-1 parking ratio for the stadium, as well as using the International Plumbing Code to establish the number of water closets required. We got together and discussed the occupants of the stadium, the maximum occupancy of the current stadium, and what the numbers look like. The last meeting we had with the ISD showed that the maximum occupancy that the stadium has ever seen is around 4,000 occupants. The exact number was 3,990 some, so we rounded that over to 4,000. And we are looking at using that maximum occupancy number to designate our parking and our water closets. The water closets, after speaking with PBK, we don't want to reduce the water closets to that extent. We still want to have something slightly over the 4,000 max occupancy. The parking, we would like to aim towards the 4,000 seating capacity. The stadium will be able to seat 6,000 occupants, but from past and current data, what we show is that 4,000 is the maximum occupancy we see at the moment. We would like to design around that. And I'll go ahead and give it over to Mr. Iglesias, who will explain the exact determination of the numbers for water closets and parking.
Before you hand it over, LSR, can you tell me what that stands for?
It stands for Large Scale Recreation.
Large Scale Recreation?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Whalen. Good afternoon. I'm David Iglesias with PBK Sports, so we're excited to be here today to present on the new Alice Stadium. We've been working with the district for some time now, and so we're here to present, as Whalen mentioned, and Mr. Esparza, of the parking variance and the plumbing fixture reduction. And so with that being said, so just a site plan overview and then some diagrams showing the plumbing fixture count So this is the existing stadium site, which you all are familiar with, so we kind of dashed in yellow the actual property that we're working with. So we are confined as far as the number of parking, but as Waylon mentioned, based on the ticket sales for the last 5 years, 3,900 was the max at one point, even though we'll have about 6,000 seats. But you also have to figure into that occupancy, the marching band, cheer, and so forth. Not everybody is driving. So we did have a meeting back in November 20th with Mr. Esparza, Waylon, and we had further discussions about this. So within that meeting, we created some exhibits to be able to present today, showing the parking around the stadium site. So the stadium itself is going to be on the same property. We are shifting the stadium over a little bit further west to get it further away from the road, which is North Stadium Road. Right now, it's pretty much right up against the road, so we're giving ourselves some additional buffer there. So we're shifting it over to the west a little bit. New parking that we show there in gray. We have 40 parking spaces on the northeast corner next to the field house, an additional 40 spaces there to the west of the field house, and then 320 spaces to the southeast of the stadium itself. The area identified there on the southeast corner, the 190, that is where the existing transportation building is located, the transportation department is located. And so we are working with Alice to look at possibly relocating that, and if we are able to do so, we can add another additional 190 parking spaces. So we are showing that in yellow as far as future. Some of the history that we've seen as well as far as parking, Sutherland's allows for parking, so we show 160 parking spaces in front of Sutherland's off of Houston, and then about 100 in the back of Sutherland's as well. And then we have the wedge in between Sutherland's and the stadium property with 130. So all in all, with everything that is shown there identified, is a total of 980 parking spaces, more or less. And to target the 5-to-1, based on 4,000 spectators, that equals to 800. So we're slightly exceeding that 4-to-1. Any questions regarding the parking?
Council, any questions?
I have a question on the the one right behind Sullivan's. Is that going to be improved, or is that going to be left natural?
It'll be natural. It'll be more like overflow if needed. So it seems like in the past they just kind of park how they can accommodate, and I'm sure there'll be some further discussions with Sutherland's,
Okay.
what that is available. I do know that they mentioned that parking can be, as long as it doesn't impede business or impact the business rates itself. And then we've also seen people parking off of Houston and some of the businesses there on the north end of Houston as well. So
Okay.
any other questions?
No.
I have a question as well.
Yes, sir.
On, kind of piggybacking on the 100 parking and the 160 parking in front of Sutherland's. Theoretically, at any period of time, for any reason, Sutherland's can say this is private property, we don't want anyone parking here.
Right.
Is that correct?
Yes, that is a possibility.
Okay.
I also have one more question. I know we have the 130 parking, and I know there's a drain ditch that runs through there. How do you plan to work around that?
We would still maintain that ditch for draining, and so we won't be building over it. And if we do, we would build it, with that drainage infrastructure as needed. So right now, I think we're looking at just bridging the ditch to access the parking there in the wedge.
Okay. That's fine.
I had a couple of questions.
Yes, sir.
The first one, you said that for 4,000 seats, right? You need how many parking spaces?
4,000 at 5-to-1 is 800
Okay.
parking spaces.
And you have how many here?
980 is what we're showing.
Okay, so we don't need, you don't need another 180, do you?
Not necessarily. I mean, I'm not saying that we wouldn't accept that if we
Right.
could figure out another 180, but
Right,
but yes.
okay.
That's including Sutherland's parking with your.
With the
you meet-
980 total is including the Sutherland's parking.
Right.
And the 190 down in the south, was it east corner?
The transportation.
Yeah.
It's assuming to move the bus park.
Yeah.
Are they gonna move it, or are you gonna move it?
That's what we're looking at. I mean, if budget persists, or if we're able to within the budget, with the stadium construction, we are looking at that. So if it is a possibility that we can relocate it, then we could gain that.
Where y'all thinking of locating it?
I'm not sure. That's where the district is still considering options for that, so.
And then the other thing, on this diagram, where is that, that ditch here?
It,
It's, yeah, between the highlighted yellow and the white on the north side.
Right,
the red dash line, that's.
got it. Okay. So that 130 parking lot's gonna be set back, right? A little bit.
Correct. So we'll bridge over that ditch to access that wedge parking.
Okay, just like a catwalk or something?
Something that can be driven over.
Wow, okay.
And it's just gonna have one entrance?
We'll
One,
just have one entrance at that wedge area.
is that gonna be all gated as well, the whole parking?
It'll be part of, yes, the site.
So the entire thing will be gated? I mean, fenced and gated?
For that area, correct.
Yeah,
Unless
fenced and
there's, yeah, anything else. If it is, yes, we would fence it. I guess it depend on the discussions with Sergeant.
Okay. Thank you. Appreciate it.
And,
Go ahead.
I know that our fire department now goes, into the gate, and they're right there at the end of the field. Where would they be located on here, their entrance to get on the field?
The emergency vehicles and so
Yes.
forth, probably on the southeast corner.
In between the 40 parking lots?
Somewhere over here, maybe up here on the northern end, but they'll be able to have access to be able to park there, in case of an emergency, ambulance and so forth. We will have those areas identified specifically.
For them, okay.
And we'll have the necessary fire hydrants and everything that we need. The buildings will be fire sprinklered as required. Press box will be fire sprinklered as well. So.
When you bring this back to council for the final, you'll have an answer more or less on the bus barn?
Possibly, yes.
Any other questions?
What's the timeline on this again? I apologize.
So last night, the district just awarded the demolition contract, so they're gonna start demolition within the next week or so. And then the goal is to be complete with the construction, by the end of May 2026. So we're hoping to have it completed for graduation. That's the goal of 2026.
Real quick, how many parking spaces do we have now on location?
On the existing site,
On the
I
existing.
don't have the information right now, but we're gaining more, I guess, with because right now a lot of the striping isn't visible, so it's very difficult to actually see the parking spaces, so.
276.
Okay.
Oh, wow. Okay. Because right now, people park at the FESCO location, down the street, at the
All
bank.
along the road, right.
On the road.
And we are shifting the stadium over, so we do lose a little bit of area just to get the stadium away from the stadium drive. So we are losing a little bit of space there on the west side.
Okay.
So those are the exhibits regarding the parking, and the reduction of the parking. You can see here the overall stadium and the seating count between the home and the visitors. Regarding the plumbing fixtures, so we put this chart together to be able to see what is currently existing. You can see there what the male water closets are on the home side, the male lavatories, the female water closets, there's 10. On the home side, female lavatories, there's 4. There isn't any drinking fountains currently. On the visitor side, there are 4 male water closets, 2 male lavatories, 6 female water closets, and 2 female lavatories. That's existing currently. So with a 40% reduction, you can see how that number jumps up. For the home side on male, from 14 to 16. On the females, a significant jump from 10 to 29. And then on the visitor side, same thing. If you look at the male, you can see the increase from 4 to 7, and the female from 6 to 12. So it's a substantial increase in plumbing fixtures, toilets and sinks for men and women. That's at a 40% reduction. At a 30% reduction, that would increase even more. So just keeping budget in mind, and I know we're basing the plumbing fixture count off the number of occupants, but it's very rare that there's actually that many people at every single game. And so based on what is existing, you can see it does make an impact still at a 40% reduction, the number of additional plumbing fixtures that the stadium would have. So we show some floor plans too, it'd be easier to see. So this is the home side. You have the main entry gates. You have the outline of the press box shown there on the center, and then on either side, north and south, you have the restroom and concessions. So this is a restroom layout showing the 30% reduction, the men and the women's on either end. Here's a blow up of the south restroom and concession, so you can see at a 30% reduction the number of toilets for the women and the number of toilets and urinals for the men. That's at a 30% reduction. At a 40% reduction, you can still see the numbers pretty significant.
Excuse me, I'm not following the reduction. What does that mean? I don't know.
So if we were to design for the number of, actual number of seats, we would end up with an excessive number of plumbing fixture count. That's just part of the IBC code. And so that's the code that we'd have to follow, for any project. And so because of the use of the stadium, it can be excessive to be able to have to build those number of plumbing fixtures, especially for them not being used. A lot of upfront construction cost. And so typically we come and ask for a reduction to reduce that number of plumbing fixtures counts based on what is indicated on the IBC, the International Building Code. And so that's why we're bringing it to the table.
Okay.
I wanted to ask you,
I'm sorry?
Yeah, if you're building anywhere around the country, I mean, you would have to follow that plumbing fixture count.
Right.
But for these types of facilities, since they're special use, they're not used every day, then usually we request a reduction.
Yeah, for IBC, a stadium's a stadium.
our IBC, I'm seeing we're using the 2012. I thought we had upgraded, or, no?
Updated.
Or updated it. So it is the 12? Okay.
The last ordinance update we have, our International Building Code, Plumbing Code, and Fire Code, everything is still established at 2012.
At 2012?
Yes,
Okay.
ma'am.
So we currently have 14 water closets, and we're gonna get 2 more.
On the home side, correct. Sorry, the clicker has a delay. There we go. So correct, on the home side, no, there's currently 14, so we'll jump up to 16. And the biggest jump is primarily the female.
What was that? The biggest jump was?
The female water closets.
Okay.
Yeah, because there's 10 existing on the home side, so now there'll be 29.
Wow.
I have a question. I don't know if it's the time to ask or not, but Michael, what kind of impact is this going to have on our infrastructure down there?
Oh, I mean, it's getting used right now. I mean, they're utilizing the facilities right now. Now, we do have some issues on the infrastructure, but not with capacity. It's more of old lines
Okay,
that we're going to replace.
Okay.
So that's planned already.
okay,
And so, there's the line that we're having problems with right now is just the fact that it's under private property and
all
somebody.
that. Every
I know.
game I see that.
We currently
50 years
have,
ago.
A project going on. We've already tied in our manhole to the existing trunk main.
Okay.
That's located on Stadium Drive. We're going to be installing around 500 foot of 8-inch pipe that's going to tie directly to the stadium and go straight over to the trunk main. It won't be heading through any other laterals. It's going to be an 8-inch line. We will have waste from the businesses that are on Houston Drive.
Right.
But we'll be here on the end of the line, and we'll have a very short run to dump directly to the trunk main.
Okay, okay,
Yes,
good. I just noticed that the last couple of games, we've seen our city trucks out there.
Yeah, and we're having
During the games.
And we're pumping because the
Pumping it.
lines are bad there, and they're old, and they're actually very hard to get to because they're under private property, under
Right.
businesses, and
Okay,
we wouldn't allow that to be done nowadays.
of course,
Yeah.
of course. No, thank you, thank you for that. I just wanted to make sure that our citizens that are listening understand that as well, that it is being worked on.
Yes,
So-
ma'am. We had a failure at one of the lines, and we've already begun the replacement process and repair process. We're just waiting for the traffic around the stadium to ease up. We're waiting for the end of the season to get everything lined up, and we're currently actually lining up our guys to send the special projects crew to finish up that tie-in and have the stub out ready for when the PBK and the people working on the project need to tie in and utilize that sewer line.
Okay.
It'll be a brand new 8-inch sewer running from right about where the entrance of the stadium is. It'll head east over to Stadium Drive and dump directly into an 18-inch trunk main.
Perfect,
Yes.
perfect. Thank
But
you so much.
Are you replacing the 8-inch line with an 8-inch line?
No, sir, I believe that there was a 6-inch
It's a
line
6.
running under the Fesco properties. Over time, that line is corroded, it collapsed, and in order to accommodate the new stadium, we decided on an 8-inch line, which would provide no problems and provide adequate heat access.
Perfect.
Good to know.
Working together.
Yeah,
Good job.
thank you.
Hey, I've got a question as well.
Yes, sir.
How long do you predict this stadium to last?
I mean, we typically design for a 30-year, 40-year lifespan.
Alrighty, so assume we get 50 years out of it. I'd like to assume that the city would be growing in the 50 years. So like the boys' restroom, you're just adding like 2 extra toilets. I wouldn't see why we wouldn't just do the 18 and prep for growth and stuff like that, because if we had to go back and change anything,
Right.
it would be overly cost effective.
And we
Where
can
here,
look-
you're just talking a couple of things.
And we can look at that on a case by case. For example, yes, on the home side, 2 additional fixtures. I mean, we can look at what that would do, for that specific home side. And then same thing with the visitor side, if that was really a concern, we can do that. So yes, I mean, we can kind of, between the two, the 40 and the 30%, we can work with what would best accommodate, the
But
district.
right now, it accommodates our seating. I mean, how many people are
Correct,
there? Right now,
which
it's limit to that.
Correct.
Okay.
So,
So, okay.
Okay. No other questions, council? No?
we didn't have anything further, so thank you all so much for your time. I really appreciate it, and we'll be presenting this to the Planning and Zoning Committee meeting next week as well. So we really appreciate the city's partnership in this project.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a blessed Merry Christmas and Happy New
Thank
Year.
And sorry I asked if it was where it was at, because usually there's a presentation on the
Yeah.
agenda on the top.
That's all right. Okay. Thank you all.
All right.
Goodbye.
Thank you all.
Bye, thank you.
Moving on to agenda item 5.2, discuss, consider, and act upon adopting an ordinance adding formal regulations regarding demolition.
Council, what we have here is an ordinance update. One of the reserve sections we would like to update with a formal regulation regarding demolition permits. Currently, we don't have any formal regulations. The only place we see demolition permit or demolition fees referenced is in the fee schedule. We would like to lay out what requires a demolition permit. What we have laid out in the reserve section is a differentiation between residential and commercial. Residential will follow our current established fee, which is going to be $75 for any kind of demolition review on anything residential. What we will be adding, or what would be changing in formal regulations, is for commercial, we would like to have the $75 fee established plus a 0.8 cent per square foot over the entire site to be added. A lot of other facilities or entities, local governments do charge a square footage fee for plan review. The plan review associated with commercial demolition is any kind of asbestos abatement, anything to deal with dust control, anything that special disposal. It also provides us a buffer to provide an inspector to deal with any kind of complaints about dust control, complaints about road closures, and it's a small fee that we add on there to cover our cost as far as sending someone out to physically review the plans and physically keep an eye on the demolition. We don't request any kind of plan review for residential. Residential, we ask that they explain to us the extent and their capability of demolition on residential houses. Usually there is no asbestos abatement. There is nothing to deal with on that end. They don't require a plan for residential demolition. But when we get to commercial demolition, we do require a plan review. As for the stadium, recently we did a plan review that deals with a lot of asbestos abatement to verify that the laboratory reports are correct and verify that there is no asbestos to get rid of. On another project we're working with for 7-Eleven, we are already getting dust complaints about the development happening there. The commercial demolition fee would help us retain some of a buffer between having to send an inspector out on a daily, possibly weekly basis to ensure that all of that gets taken care of as per plan, and all of our stormwater prevention, pollution infrastructure is in place.
Yeah, there's a lot more work going into large-scale demolition, even commercial, than there is on residential, and so there's a lot of monitoring that we have to do, traffic flow, traffic control, and so, yeah, it requires a larger fee, and so.
What was that fee again?
The fee for commercial demolition is going to be $75, the baseline fee, plus it's less than a penny, 0.8 cents per square foot of the entire site. What we have there also added on there is I don't know how to word it, but there is a clause there that allows us to review the plans and review the demolition on a as per basis to ensure that we're not charging a fee where we shouldn't be charging it. We can, on a case-by-case basis, look at each commercial demolition and determine whether or not they should pay the review fee.
Okay.
Yeah, if there's a large tract of land and it's a smaller location, and let's just say, 1/8 of the property is where the demolition is gonna be, we're not gonna charge on the square footage of the whole property, so we have that clause built in. I think toward the end is where we put that, to allow for us to say, okay, we're only gonna charge on the portion where the demolition is gonna occur.
8 cents, right, per
Yeah.
square foot?
0.8.
0.8
It's less than a penny.
Less than a penny.
So 0.08.
on the entire site.
Okay.
On the
Per
entire
square
site.
foot of the.
That's why the value is so low, because on the entire site, something like, again, bringing up the stadium, something like the stadium is over 550,000 square feet. So if we were to charge 8 cents on that, it would be somewhere around a $50,000 review fee for that plan. So we do 0.8 cents, and that brings it down to something reasonable that we can actually charge a customer to deal with inspections and plan reviews.
Sorry.
So that would be about 5,000
About $4,900.
for a big project like that, which is,
I know.
covers the cost that we would have.
You would think you'd have like a kind of a sliding scale, you get to a certain size and then,
Okay.
it kind of tapers down to kind of consider that, I don't know. 0.8 cent.
So does that
I'm
include,
not a financial guy, so.
but does that include if we have to monitor for asbestos and air quality, stuff like that? Is there an added fee for that, or?
Well, we would require, if that would happen, it would be we're requiring them to do it. We wouldn't do the monitoring.
Okay.
Yes, sir. That's part of the fee as well. We verify that all of the lab reports they turn into us saying that there is no asbestos present on the property, as well as air quality control. That's something that we verify on site. As the project progresses, we do travel out to the site and verify that they are keeping up with their air quality control and any kind of abatement of lead, asbestos, any kind of special disposal.
Dust and all that other stuff, make sure.
Suffice it? Is it good enough?
0.8, I was like,
Yeah, Wayland did his work trying to get us to something that would be reasonable, but still, cover our costs.
Speaking about being reasonable, that's why we include that clause as well. If, for example, we have an oil field yard where they want to demolish a building, and oil field yards have massive amounts of parking for all the equipment, we wouldn't want to charge them for the building demolition on the entire site. Now, if they were demolishing parking lot as well, that's something that we'd look into because of dust control involved there. Also, the stormwater pollution prevention. So that's why we include that clause. They're allowed to come and show us their plans and all of their other construction documents, and we'd review them and see whether or not it's something that we should charge the fee, or if it's going to be a very simple building demolition on a large site, we can waive the fee and they can pay the $75 standard demolition fee.
That's an idea. I like that.
And we currently don't have anything now, nothing.
No, just $75 application fee for a permit for a demolition, yeah.
Okay. I'm good.
Good. Thank you, Will.
where does it show us the fee here?
Keep going. One more. The fee schedule?
No,
Seemed
Oh,
kind of
in the
odd to think you
ordinance?
just do a
in
penny,
the ordinance.
Oh, okay, I don't think I didn't
Where'd
see
y'all get
it.
the number from? Or just-
Wayland, you got the 8 cents from the average of some of the other cities that
numbers, but
We're,
it doesn't really say.
Yes, sir. We'll use the average of cities around
Square foot
Texas.
cost.
Northern Texas, South Texas, they see a lot of demolition based on set fees. They have a set fee, whereas you're demolishing a building of a certain size to a certain size, there is a sliding scale. Down here, we have a lot of oil field traffic, so we use the entire site base instead of, and those values are interpolated with the 0.8 cents. Instead of having a sliding scale, we use the 0.8 cents as our sliding scale to show if they're demolishing a whole site, this is how much it would be in comparison to one of the northern cities that says, well, it's going to be in a bracket from this square footage to this square footage, it costs set dollars.
And it's not the footprint, right? It's the actual square footage of the entire building.
It's the entire square footage of the site that the building is on. Usually when demolition occurs, they have to have stormwater pollution prevention around the entire site. So in other words, we have to monitor the entire site during the demolition. And if we were to use 8 cents, that would be a little bit outrageous to charge 8 cents per square foot of an entire job site. So that's why we drop it down to something more reasonable. Usually it ranges anywhere from I would say when we break down the numbers per square footage, it ranges anywhere from 1 cent to about 12 to 14 cents. And because we have the sliding scale, we wanted it to be reasonable, whether it's an extremely large site with a small demolition or, just a huge site
And like you say, it's just the footprint, right?
of the entire site, the boundary of the entire site.
Right, okay.
Yes, sir.
So if it's like 5 stories, it doesn't matter, it's just that.
It's, yes, sir, even if it's
We have
5
that here.
stories.
Kind of like the PNS or whatever, Okay, I'm good, thank you.
Sounds good.
I've got one more kind of curiosity question. Let's say it's like 101 square feet. How do you collect that 0.8 cent? Or do you just waive it, or how does that work?
I didn't put the clause in there. All of our other fees do say rounded down.
Round it
Okay.
down.
Rounded
Oh,
down.
even better. Okay, cool. You help out the person.
We would lose 1 penny.
That's all right. Or at least 0.8
Round
of
it
it.
up, round it up.
Gotta get rid of pennies.
Perfect.
Okay. Any other
I
questions?
have one question, the mayor had brought up the fee and the ordinance is not listed in the verbiage. Does that have to be listed in there?
No, ma'am.
Because-
Based off of our other ordinances, we don't list the fee in any of the verbiage. It all goes straight to the fee schedule. I assume it's so that ways we can leave the ordinance unchanged if we need to change the fee.
Okay.
And it just
Right.
references the fee from the fee schedule.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
You can do it either way. It's generally practiced. There are very few ordinances that have the fees listed in those ordinances in the city of Dallas. It's been our practice to use the fee schedules, as Waylon said. We've reviewed it, and I think ad nauseum we've reviewed it. And I think we've done a fine job.
Okay. Good job.
All right, great, thank you. Council, any other questions or discussion? If there's no further discussion, I'll entertain a motion at this time.
Mayor, I make a motion to adopt an ordinance adding formal regulations regarding the demolition, regarding demolition.
Second.
We have a first and a second. All in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, motion passes. Thank you, council. 5.3, discuss, consider, and act upon reviewing RFQ 2024-014 submission for professional engineering services and authorize city manager to negotiate a contract with the recommended firm.
I don't know.
Waylon again.
This one, we sent out requests for quotations for engineering services dealing with the landfill. Just a bit of background, what we have going on. I don't want to use the word terminated, but services were canceled between the city of Alice and Hanson. Intermediately, we've been using AARC as our monitoring engineering service. All they do is monitor the groundwater and the natural gas or methane coming out of the ground over at the landfill. The master contract covers quite a bit more than the monitoring aspect. They oversee what happens at the landfill. They oversee any kind of the cell rebuilding and any other services or documentation that we require there. The current intermediate company we're using, AARC, all they do is take care of the monitoring for us. So we have not had a company with a master contract monitoring our landfill as we used to. We got one request for quotation back. It's going to be Ardura Engineering Services. Ardura does fill out the entire master contract. They will be monitoring the entirety of the permit as far as any kind of cell rebuilding, when I read into the request for qualifications, they also will be helping maximize the storage area in our landfill. There's a possibility also that they can section the landfill where we have house debris or vegetation, brush, and everything sectioned off from the rest of our landfill to maximize the years of storage we have left. They also take care of any kind of cell rebuilding, cell stacking, any kind of configuration. They will be overseeing any documentation that we need to have on site at the landfill as per TCEQ. What we have here, they will help us comply with all sections of TCEQ Title 30, Chapter 330, which is our solid waste disposal of TCEQ. When we look at the schedule provided in the RFQ, there is a schedule in place. Not only will they help us maintain what we have, they're going to go back and ensure that any deficiencies we have will be taken care of and handled to get our landfill back to where it needs to be. That's all included in the schedule they have. They will be providing any kind of assistance, or if we have any questions regarding paperwork, reports, or documentation, they will be assisting in that manner as well. Like I said, they will be establishing sort of a master contract that oversees all requirements of our permit. One of the gentlemen established and named in the RFQ is Mr. Joe Trejo. We have him right here. He was the city engineer on record when the landfill permit was established. He's very familiar with the permit. He's very familiar with the landfill we have. He will be, I believe, the project manager through this contract. We have here. Also, the RFQ states that Mr. Trejo and team are local. They are from or around the city of Alice. They are familiar with the area. They benefit from the usage of the landfill as well. As I stated earlier, they will be helping maximize the existing area we have left in the landfill. This is something that's extremely important. Our landfill is getting quite full. We do still have some years left before we need to look at a new landfill storage location. In the RFQ, it's saying that closer to the end of the schedule, they will help also examine or recognize other prospective locations that we could use. I believe they will also help with the permitting process. If we need to expand our existing permit, possibly establish a new permit, there will be something that Ardura will stand side by side with us and work through the steps. There's something that we need to do in the near future. Also in the RFQ, it states that they have a quality assurance, quality control officer that will be making sure that all documentation, all reporting is taken care of and is done properly. They have an individual specifically for quality control and quality assurance. That's something that will benefit us. They will be keeping an eye on themselves as they help us get through all of the paperwork.
And they were the only bidder, but we are confident that they can do the work out there, and they have the experience to be able to do that as well. So
Yes, yes,
we're-
sir.
My question is do we recommend Ardura take the contract?
Yes, we do.
That's the way it's-
Yeah,
yes, we do.
That's the way the agenda is.
okay.
So you recommend Ardura?
Yes, sir. I recommend we accept Ardura.
Okay.
So how long is this
Contract.
contract for?
It's just a
Is it-
master service agreement. So
Master service agreement.
yeah, I mean, we had one with Hanson, which was Naismith for a while, and then was Hanson, and that's who was handling everything that we had to do out there at the landfill. But they terminated that, so we had to go out for an RFQ to find somebody else.
Okay.
Any other questions, Mr. Molina?
Whether, is there going to be somebody on site, or is it just as needed? Like, I know you mentioned you're going to have a quality control person out there.
Yes, sir. I don't believe he will be on site every day. I believe he will be reviewing all the paperwork and documentation that comes through the office. If they see any results that need some kind of rectification, if we see any high methane results or we're having problems with the groundwater, I believe that the quality assurance manager will be have hands on that. Any kind of those questions, I have Mr. Trejo here. He might be able to answer some of those questions, depending on who's going to be on site, who's actually going to be taking care of what. If we have any of those questions, Mr. Trejo.
They'll also be taking care of like surveys and audits and stuff like that.
Yes, ma'am. I believe they will be taking care of all the audits and surveys.
So pretty much everything that Hanson did.
Yes, yeah,
To the
same thing
point.
that Hanson did.
Okay.
Is there any plans in the future for repurposing the methane, for fuel or?
I I don't know if we have any plans for that. I understand that in Austin, they do repurpose the methane to use as fuel for their landfill machinery.
Right.
I don't know if we have any plans for that. That is something that, looking towards the future, having a master service contract, that is something we can probably discuss with someone who is very familiar with our landfill to know what kind of volumes we produce, to see if it would be worth it for us to
Right.
source our methane.
It would be nice just to take a look at it, whether it's feasible or not, but,
Yes, sir.
I don't know, that's something we can look into.
Any
Okay.
other questions?
No.
Mr. Molina?
Yeah, so as far as like scope and cost, where does that come in?
I mean, the costs are gonna, are their standard cost based on their services. This is the same, kind of a continuation of what we were doing before. And so, Robert, before, how often do you make contact with the engineering firm that we have? So in the past, with Hanson,
Well,
you're,
normally what we have is, our engineering firm, who shall remain nameless at this time, since we don't have one. We do groundwater monitoring twice a year,
Okay.
at the very least. If there's any problem with any of the wells, then they need to come back and do assessment monitoring on 1, 2, or 3, depending on which ones come back. Our methane gas is monitored monthly. Unless there's an exceedance, then we go into a different routine on it. And that's mostly what we're going to do with them. However, there are some plans that we've been discussing with our previous engineering firm, mainly asking for a modification or an amendment to fill in that valley between the two hills,
Right,
which will increase the life of the current landfill.
right.
As far as the gas is concerned, we currently fall under the cubic yards of needing to do anything more than just venting it. It is expensive to cleanse it, vent, and make it usable for use in our equipment. So at the point when we purchase more properties and do our landfill expansion, then we'll be looking at that. But that's a good 5 to 10 years down the road by the time that we have enough gas to be able to do that.
Okay.
But it just depends on whether we will continue landfilling or we're going to go with this.
and so remember, and so this is an RFQ, so this is a request for qualifications. Now, the authorization from you guys would be to allow me to negotiate a contract with them. That's where the scheduled fees come in, and that's when I start looking at those, and I talk to them about them and see which ones I want to change or modify, and that's the next step. And if we can't come to an agreement, then we go back to the drawing board. Most of the time, we're able to come to an agreement.
And that's probably based on what we had like kind of already arranged with Hanson, or?
Well, I mean, I'll look
Rule of thumb.
at the customary fees that kind of the engineering companies have in the area, and then I try to whittle them down as much as I can.
Scheduling is pretty much like in place. You have to do it. It's a requirement. But pricing, that's where we need to be looking at.
It's just kind of odd question, but like, what wells are you talking about?
I'm sorry?
What wells are you talking about?
Monitor wells, we have piezometers all the way around the landfill. So you monitor groundwater as it comes in and exits to make sure that we're not releasing anything into the groundwater and keeping
Okay.
us safe.
So there are wells that we just
Right.
drilled and just have there, and it's just for testing
For testing,
purposes?
Right.
Yes.
And what did you call it?
I'm sorry?
You said you have,
They're piezometers, they're monitor wells,
Okay.
water wells.
okay,
We have 14.
didn't know that,
uh,
sorry.
background wells and, 10 background wells and 14 assessment wells, so 24 altogether.
How deep are they, or they're different?
They vary in size and depth.
What are the depths?
Please, no,
Oh, no, okay, I'm curious,
not off the top of my head.
Yeah, where
They're
there's-
not too deep.
where there's water.
They're not 1,000 feet, but
Until it's water.
I'm learning, hey, been here a while, but don't ask these questions, I
Oh, those
appreciate
are-
it.
Those are good questions.
Thank you, Robert.
Ms. Bowen,
Thank you.
Waylon?
Well, Ms. Bowen, do you have any questions?
No.
Do you,
He
Mr.
already
Garza?
answered my question.
No. Okay.
Thank you.
Waylon, on this master plan or agreement, so y'all kind of went over as far as how many times they're gonna monitor. Are they also gonna assist us with, like, height levels, any variations, or how does that,
That's when the surveying is.
is
I
that,
see, I believe that the clause in the RFQ says that they will help with compliance, and that should fall under compliance. Is the height issues. If we go over height, I assume they will have someone to monitor to ensure that we don't overbuild, ensure that we stay within the regulations that we have.
and as far as erosion, just all those type of things, they're gonna address covering, all that
Yes, ma'am.
to help us with, okay. Mr.
Pretty much just handing off from Hanson to.
Pretty much handed
Yeah.
off.
Pretty much.
Okay.
Some of
there-
those things that we had already discussed, we're probably gonna begin again because we.
The negotiations.
Some changes.
Again?
Positive changes.
Yes, sir.
That, under the agenda item, this is gonna come back for you all for approval.
Right.
It only allows Michael the opportunity to negotiate the contract. He'll sit down and try to get the city the best deal he can, working with Ardura, and then they'll bring it back for you all to approve it, for his signature. Now, of course, unless it's under his statutory limit, then he might not have to, but,
Well, yeah, because remember, because this right here is just the qualifications, so we have to determine who we're gonna use based on qualifications, and then, you know, we come back and then we see their pricing schedule and see if we like it or not, and negotiate that out, so that's a two-step process. Here, it's strictly just based off qualifications, not on price,
Okay,
on an RFQ.
all right, thank you.
Okay.
Hey, council, any other discussion, questions in reference to this agenda item? No? Okay. If there's no further discussion or any questions in reference to this agenda item, I'll entertain a motion.
Yeah, I make a motion on RFQ 2024-014 submission of professional engineering services to authorize our city manager to negotiate the contract with the recommended firm Ardura.
Group.
Okay,
Second it.
we have a first and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion passes. Thank you, council. 5.4, discuss, consider, and act upon budget amendment number 1, hotel occupancy tax, city-sponsored promotion of the arts. This is being brought to us by our Mayor Pro Tem, Mr. Robert Molina, and Councilmember Mr. Mauricio Garza. Who will, Mr.
Yeah, I'll
Okay.
hit it up. It turns out that after we went through our budget season and got everything prepared, we left I guess the hot funds open to some degree for consideration for future events. Normally, we allot a certain amount that goes in there, and you know, I guess at the time, we were talking about a different application process or whatnot, so eventually, we just approved the budget, and this kind of just got, I guess, kind of putting it kind of on the back burner. So now we have Tejano Roots, they're planning their annual events. One's the Hall of Fame ceremonies, and then one is Cinco de Mayo. I'm not sure how that works, if we do one now and one the other, but in the past, we had allowed $12,500 to allow them to kind of have their city festival. And, you know, I know them personally, and they're one of the only organizations that do this kind of thing, and it is without a doubt a touristic kind of you know, avenue for people to come in and see what we've got. And so that's what I was saying, just kind of, we've been doing this for a while, and it just so happened that we handled this one a little bit different. So I talked with Michael about it, and he said, well, we can do an amendment to the budget and allow that. You know, it is hotel funds, and he does use them, and like I said, I say he, but the organization itself is run by the president, Ruben Lopez, and you know, he's responsible. He's been doing it for I don't know how many years, you know, over 10 years. I'm not sure exactly. So I was going to suggest that's how much we did last year, 12.5, and we're going to do it again per event. But I don't know how Michael wants to address that.
And that's line item expense item 56490. So city-sponsored promotion of the arts. So if you guys want to amend the budget to include, I would say if you're going to do both events, do them now, instead of bringing out, you know, again, our budget amendment for the one in May. And that's just to amend the budget
And if he doesn't have it, we just put it right back.
to include, the 25,000 into that line item. And then we handle that, Gabriel, the same way we do all the time with it, right? Yeah. He'll submit his paperwork to finance, and finance gets all that done and work through that.
Mr. Garza, you have anything else to add, or?
Well, just, this, very, important organization to the community. They're one of the only ones that still has actual live events that brings in people from out of town. The, money would come out of the hotel funds, and none of that money is allowed to be used for infrastructure or overhead or anything like that. That money is designated for events like this. And that opportunity is available to everybody who is a nonprofit organization willing to invest in the city, to have an event to bring in people, and as the popular saying is, heads and beds. So, it kind of slipped through the cracks here, and I'm with Mr. Molina, our Mayor Pro Tem, that, this is such a blessing event for the community. It'd be a shame to let it pass on. So if we can, go ahead and fix this and be able to get things going, I'm sure not only we would be appreciated, but the community would.
I did want to add also that they don't charge. It's free to the public pretty much, and it's a traditional thing, and it's kind of what we've been known for, right? The birthplace of Tejano music, and it's kind of a cool thing. They induct folks.
I've got a suggestion then, because the direct discussion is regards to Tejano Roots, is that so that you don't have a general line item that it's for every entity, you go ahead and you do specify the line item that you're going to say, that you have one that's $12,500 for Tejano Roots for their Hall of Fame, and then $12,500 for their Cinco de Mayo. Otherwise, if you just do a general line item for the arts
Yes,
or for events, then
It can be interrupted.
then it's
Got it.
right.
and you guys are specifically discussing this one particular entity with this one particular grant. And in the past, prior to the time of Michael, actually, he was on the council before he was our city manager. Generally, that's the way council would do it, is they'd look at line items as they came up when they made direct requests. And so,
Okay, council, do you have any other discussion or questions in reference to this agenda item?
Mayor,
So as far as the budgeting for this, we've only allocated X amount of dollars. If anybody else wants to come in, maybe do a festival of some sort or introduce something, will we have funding available for them, or is it?
You'd have to do another budget amendment to consider it.
Okay.
they have to qualify to do all that.
Yeah, I'm just saying, like, if everything qualifies, then
Right.
the last thing would be to get funding. And, okay, I want to make sure that we don't rule ourselves out of that potential, that if there is another festival that wants to get injected into the rotation, that we actually have funding without having, without saying, well, that's all we got for the year, So, okay. We can revise it.
All right,
And by amending the budget, by putting this in for them, and if we needed to for any other organization, it wouldn't affect our overall underlying, right? This is money coming from a designated account that has millions in it, that is designated just for this.
Yeah, hotel, motel,
So
occupancy tax.
I just say that to clarify to everybody, this isn't coming out of infrastructure, we're not raising property taxes for any of this. This is money that is sitting there for this purpose to be used. So,
May I?
I wanted to ask before you make your motion.
No, I just had a question.
Oh, a question. Okay, go ahead.
No motion.
I thought a motion. Go
No,
ahead.
no, my question is, I remember when we discussed this during the budget workshop, I think we talked about coming back and doing budget amendments as people came in, if I recall correctly. Is there any way now we can put some money in there, or we're gonna just be doing that? I mean, allocate some money toward that right now? Or should we
You guys
just?
can do what you want on that, but we're looking at is, you're looking at an event that's been kind of over and over and over that they've had for a long time, so it's not somebody that's just coming, asking for a first time. So it kind of changes things, but you guys would have to look at it on a case-by-case basis.
Right.
Yeah,
How you wanna-
so
I
we
agree
said
with
every
that.
time somebody comes forward, we just look at it. I think we agreed to something like that.
I think we're gonna revisit the application process, because it was very
think that was
tedious, and
another
it
issue.
was kind of based on like a grapevine kind of community with, a lot of, a lot of tourism, whatever, and so it needed to just be dialed back a little bit, and that's probably it, because there is something there that says about, it does this, trigger overnight stays and does,
Right, for tourism.
does, have some kind of history behind it. I think it was like if you've had a festival for like so many years, you qualify for so much.
So
There's a
much.
lot of
There was
these-
a sliding scale kind of thing.
yeah. So that's why when all was said and done, Tejano Roots, they've been doing it for so long. I think Hispanic Heritage were in there too, or something like that, but Tejano Roots was up there over 10 years, and so they were kind of on the heftier end or whatever. Maybe we can visit that, I just wanted to get this out of the way because they have an event coming up, and then if we can put that away, and like you say, line item it for May when we're done with that, and then, but as far as there being some kind of, some kind of eligibility, we have to do something, because it has to, to me, it has to, you do have to be nonprofit, I prefer it to be within the city limits, and like I say, it's gotta generate overnight stays, obvious things, and
Well, I'd
promote the
like to bring
tourism.
that
And
back.
promote the tourism, so.
Yeah, I'd like to bring that back to the council. The only other thing, I know you talked to Mr. Lopez. I hope, he's listening and he understands that we didn't intentionally forget her or knock him off of here. He is doing a wonderful job, and I fully support what they're doing. I've attended all their events, spoke at their events. They're doing a great job with, people from all over are there. And it's wonderful to see people enjoying our community. So, but other than that, that's all I have, Mayor.
Okay. Okay, so if there's no further discussion or questions in reference to this agenda item, I'll entertain a motion.
How do we do this, John? Do I have to mention the line item with Tejano Roots?
I would specifically say that you move to amend the budget, specifically hotel and motel tax budget, to include the events, or $12,500 to be given to the Tejano Roots
Hall of
Hall of
Fame.
Fame event, and then additional line item, $12,500 to be given to the Tejano Roots.
Cinco de Mayo.
Cinco de Mayo.
Okay. Motion as stated.
Good job, John.
All right, we have a first and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion passes. Thank
Thank
you,
you so
council.
much. I appreciate it, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mauricio.
Agenda item 5.5, discuss, consider, and act upon awarding the contract for the purchasing of chemicals for the Alice Water and Wastewater Treatment Plants calendar year 2025. Is that Mr. Demetrio?
Oh, there he is.
There he is.
Mayor, council, city staff, good afternoon. For calendar year 25, we had 4 chemicals that were up for bid. We had liquid caustic, we had chlorine gas, liquid polymer, and we had sulfur dioxide gas. The schedule for the bid process was as follows. We had a first advertisement on November the 8th. Second advertisement was November the 15th. Yesterday, December the 2nd, we had our bid open, and today we're here to award the bid. Before you, you should have 2 tabulation sheets. One is for 1 year and one is for 2 year. As always, chemical vendors have the option to submit a 1 and/or 2 year bid.
Okay.
I know in the past you've mentioned that they don't go beyond that because of the
Yeah,
fluctuation.
the market
in-
is kind of volatile, it's unstable at times.
Yeah.
That's why you see more of the one-year bid than the two-year bid. But there's some folks that bid this time around for 2 years, and when it comes down to my recommendation, I'll mention those for the 2-year.
Dimitri, let me ask you a question. Do you anticipate the usage of our chemicals to go down with the usage of our
Correct.
water?
Yes, once we go RO, you will see the chemical cost on the surface side go down, to decrease.
So you still feel that 2 years would be sufficient?
Well, we're going to need it regardless. Again, I always prepare things for a worst-case scenario, not knowing what might happen down the road. And they're given a 2-year option, and it's within a certain percentage as far as cost difference. I'll recommend the 2-year.
Okay.
And that's one of the ones this year is, if you look at the caustic, I'm going to recommend a 2-year for caustic, because if you look at the 1-year, all the other vendors' cost per gallon is higher than the low bid for the 2-year. So that's one of the keys that we're going to have for corrosion control with groundwater. And we are still going to have to do some, perhaps, buffering, adding chemical to the final product before it goes out to distribution.
So you only had 3 bids? 3 separate bids, is that what I'm seeing?
We actually had 4 items up for bid, and we had 6 vendors that submitted bids.
6. Oh, I see, okay. I see them, I couldn't find them, the other 2. 3, 4.
Just like I mentioned on the 2-year bid, if you look at item number 5 for caustic at 2.69 per gallon, it's 17 cents per gallon higher than what we're paying currently. But if you go back to the 1-year bid, the other vendors that submitted a 1-year bid, their bid is actually higher than the low bid for the 2-year.
Okay.
So like this one is 269, but this one's
They're the same.
58.
They're the same people.
Okay, so okay, this
This
is
is
the
the 2-year bid
2-year
and the
and
1-year.
the 1-year.
So they're the same supplier.
Same bidder,
They're just, okay. So they're recommending that one.
Any, I guess the mayor was making a point of it. Any reason why we went with the 2-year for the liquid caustic versus the 1-year with Venera?
Right, it's like I just mentioned, if you look at the 1-year tabulation sheet, if you look at all the other vendors that submitted a bid, those 1-year bids are higher than Venera's 2-year bid.
Yeah, but Venera's Venera's the
269.
lowest of the 1-year.
Right, but if you go for 2 years at 269, that's still going to be lower than the 1-year bid from everybody else.
I think what the council, if I may, I think what the council is asking is that, hey, the 1-year bid is $2.58. When it goes for the 2 years, it's $2.69.
It's more.
For the 2 years.
Right.
And I think you just explained that you'd rather get them locked into a 2-year contract.
Correct.
instead of a 1-year.
Instead of the 1-year.
Right, and this is one of the
Next year
products
could
that's
be
very
more than
volatile,
269.
that has constantly gone up the last 4 or 5 years, along with chlorine
The
and
That's
sulfur
what I
sulfur
was gonna ask,
dioxide.
it's gone up.
So you're saying that we go with 1 and the cheaper next year, it could,
It may be more.
It could be 314, 323.
Yeah.
An example is
Okay.
polymer, item number 7. Currently, we're paying $6.63 a gallon. This year's coming out at 3.995. You know, you're looking at a savings of $2.63 per gallon.
okay.
Well, you've been doing this for a while.
You know what you're talking
I
about.
guess we could take your word for it. This is once.
We're just trying to understand this, that's it, you know, you have one of the most important jobs in the entire city.
Yeah.
Our water is up to par.
Safe and- yeah.
So with that, my recommendation for the 1-year, item number 6, chlorine gas to PVS. Item number 8, sulfur dioxide to PVS. For the 2-year, item number 5, the caustic to Viera Chemical. And item number 7, polymer to SNF.
Okay. Council, any other questions or discussion in reference to this agenda item? No?
I just have mainly a curiosity question. This may show my level of education on this, but are we still using fluoride in the water?
No.
We use sodium chloride for taste and odor control.
Fluoride?
Fluoride.
No fluoride.
Oh, fluoride, no, we
He
don't.
was asking
Fluoride,
about,
no.
yeah.
No, I'm sorry, I misunderstood. Fluoride, we don't.
No, that's perfect.
Okay.
Or chloride.
Yes, sounds
I know there's so many different chemicals.
All right, so council, I'll entertain a motion at this time.
Mayor, I'll make a motion to award the contract for purchasing of chemicals for the Alice Water and Wastewater Treatment Plants calendar year 2025 for the one-year bid, company name PVSDX Incorporated for the item 6, which is chlorine, and item 8, which is sulfur dioxide. And then for the two-year bid, awarded to SNF Incorporated for the polymer, item 7 polymer, and a two-year bid for Venera Chemicals Company for item 5 liquid caustic.
Second.
We have a first and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, any opposed? Okay, motion passes. Thank
All right,
you.
Thank you. Happy holidays.
Same to you.
Appreciate it, Metro.
Okay. Moving on to agenda item 5.6, presentation and discussion from the Alice Fire Chief Patrick Thomas regarding statistics for the third quarter calls for service.
Hey, Chief, how are you?
Hey, guys.
Hello.
Or made you wait?
All right, so, good afternoon, Mayor and Council. Before you, I have the third quarter statistics and activity for the Alice Fire Department. And just as I normally do, I just want to go over some of the quick highlights of this quarter's report. We did have a decrease, well, we had an increase in calls, but a decrease in fire calls. So we were 20 calls less, 20 fires less than the same time last year. So that was a positive thing. We did have some activity with the wildfire stuff happening. So the weather kind of dictates that. When the weather starts to dry out and the fuel starts to dry out, we start seeing an increase in the amount of wildfires that we have. And so to assist with that, we do have some partnerships with the State Forest Service and the Texas Interstate Fire Mutual Aid System. So if you notice some fire trucks driving around that weren't from Alice, that were from Austin, most of them have been from Austin lately, but they come from all over the place. Bureau of Land Management, the trucks that look different than what our trucks look like, and so you see them staying at the hotels and eating at our restaurants. Those guys are here to help supplement some of the increase in fire calls that our firefighters are experiencing. So when you see those guys, thank them for being here, and those are funded by the state operations center. So that's been, we've seen them a lot more lately, just because of the amount of fire calls and the weather pattern that we're seeing. So. In addition to that, some things that I didn't include in the report because it just slipped my mind before as I was preparing the report. I did want to report that we did receive a large, pretty large grant for us. It was a combination grant between the fire department and the police department through Operation Lone Star. And I want to thank Chief Garcia and his staff for working together with us to make that put that grant application together. But the fire department, it's a bigger grant, but the fire department's portion of that is only $163,000. That's going to be used for some much needed equipment all over fill up a bunch of gaps that we had. So, and I'll let Chief Garcia explain what the rest of that grant for is. He's got a bigger amount, and it's going to be much needed. It's going to benefit them and the fire department as well. We are changing softwares. Our current software that helps me provide all these reports to you is no longer in business, so we're having to migrate to the software to the company that bought out that company. So you'll have to bear with me for the next couple of reports. I don't know what the reports are going to look like in the future and how to run them, make all these graphs and things. So that may be the format in which this report normally comes may be changing. So I just wanted to give you guys a heads up on that. Again, we did see a decrease in the number of fires and that's a good thing. We're on trend to be around the same amount of calls as we had last year. I don't see it going over. I hope it doesn't go over, but that's kind of where we're at right now on our fire call volume. I'll open the floor for any questions. The report's there for you to review. And I apologize, I was out of town when we had our last council meeting. This should have been done, I believe, a month ago or 2 months ago. For whatever reason, scheduling conflicts, the report's a little late this quarter, so you're going to get one and then in January you're going to get the fourth quarter one right back to back. So we'll go over the numbers again then. But I thank you, and if you have any questions, I'll open the floor.
Council, any questions? Mr. Beltran?
On the lights and sirens, average turnout time, it says that from station 1 is 26 seconds. So that's how long it takes you to get from a dispatch to the location?
Correct. That time is how long it takes for them to, when the alarm goes off, the time it takes them to get in the truck and be out the door, lights and sirens. So yeah, that's how quick they're getting out of the station.
And then the average response time is about 4 minutes, or
So you're going to see that there was an increase. No, we decreased it. So this time last year, we had a lot higher response times. And the reason for that, if you go up to mutual aid, you'll notice that we had a total of 14 mutual aid calls that quarter, this same time last year, which is down. This year we've only had one mutual aid call where we've gone and provided mutual aid to somebody else, which is a good thing. But when we do when you look at those mutual aid calls, those a lot of times are far away from here. We could be going down to Falfurrias, we could be going over to Corpus, we could be going. So that response time that it takes from us to get from here to wherever that is, it's a higher, longer time, obviously, because the distance is far. And so this averages all those numbers into that. So that's why you'll see it went from almost 8 minutes or 7.5 minutes. From last year, we cut it down in half. It's because we did a lot less mutual aid calls, so our response times, or the average response time is a lot shorter.
it'd be nice to get one only within the city limits.
Yeah, I can probably do that. This is just in general, but yeah, I can run a report. With the new software, I don't know. I can never make any promises, but I know I can with this current software. I can get you a report on what it's like inside the city limits.
Yeah, that would be nice. Thank you.
I can actually tell you what the response time is, because the other day, a couple of days ago, we just bought my mother a new stove for Thanksgiving and whatever, right? And anyways, my sister-in-law was all proud because she bought these lids that they have these plastic rings around them, and you can put them on different size skillets. And my mother has this old habit of putting the pans in, or the pots in the stove still. So she takes them all out and she bakes, whatever. Well, my sister-in-law, unbeknownst to her, one of those lids had fallen in the back. It was a small one, and it's plastic. I mean, it's vinyl. I don't know what it is. It's heat-resistant, I guess, plastic to some degree. Well, it started a fire, and they didn't know where it was coming from. They just looked like it was coming out of the back because it had fallen behind the rack. Anyways, they call me, and I was outside, so I come in, and I just go get a towel. I'm just going to snuff it, because they had a fire extinguisher. I'm like, you're going to make a mess. And I go in there, and I can see that it's something, because I mean the whole kitchen is just full of all the plastic, right? All the fines are all over, and my mom's panicking, whatever, and so finally I just got these long barbecue, tongs, whatever, and I grabbed it, and they have that crumb. It's like a crumb plastic or like a vinyl thing goes on the bottom to catch crumbs. I just got that and took it outside, and but it was already done. Well, unbeknownst to me, they panicked and called 911, and I could already hear the sirens. And I'm like, man, you need to call them and tell them we got it. It's okay, And a police officer arrived, and then they had to show up, and they were there in no time. I mean, in the time it took me to go get a towel, go do whatever. I mean, it was just kind of.
I get that a lot. It's a good problem to have, right? You want them to get there fast.
It was fast. I felt bad because I think even EMS showed up too, and I was like, oh, but I'm offered.
I'll get
who I am.
calls.
No, but I was really impressed. You think because you hear people say,
Oh yeah.
but good job.
Sometimes they'll call and they're like, hey, I needed them, but I don't need them anymore. But by the time they call me, they're
already too
right
late.
around
They're
the
already
corner.
en route, and
They're gonna get there before.
But just an awesome response, and like I said, I'm testimony for it, you know. Good job.
I think it's a good brag on our behalf that we can say response time within a matter of 2 minutes, or whatever the case may be. And I'd like to be able to
From one point to the
to
other.
say that in conversation.
Right.
You know, just to add that in and just let people know how good of a job you guys have done and how you prepared and how you're always efficient and working towards getting faster. So that needs to be
Good job.
told,
And
recognized.
then insurance companies, they're doing a good job.
I mean, yeah, they'll show up quick.
Ms. Bowen?
Um,
Okay.
The only question I have, I noticed on your cover letter here, you talked about you have 5 vacancies.
That's correct.
What are you doing to, what kind of recruitment are you doing to recruit those 5?
So we're going to be visiting fire academies here.
Okay.
The next, we've got an academy that's graduating this month in December, and so we've already begun some conversations with some of those potential firefighters, and we're hoping to be able to fill those positions in January.
somebody's
or
going.
something.
Good, all 5?
Jump in.
I'm hoping if we can get the
You
applicants.
hear that, guys out there? Girls, guys? Wonderful. Thank you for all you do. Appreciate it.
Mr. Garza?
Patrick, great job, buddy. I did have a curiosity question. I probably should know this, but the incident types, what's a lock-in and what's a lock-out?
Lock-ins and lockouts, sometimes they're vehicles. People are locked out of their vehicle.
Oh, okay.
And same thing with the inside houses. Sometimes people will get locked outside their houses, or will go because maybe somebody's fallen on the inside of the house and can't get. We just had one over at the new apartments on where the old hospital was at. The person fell inside and wasn't able to get up to get the door, and had that special lock that locks. You can't use a key to open, and you've got. So yeah, we had to work with that. It was not really an emergency because we could talk to the person, but we knew she was fine. She just wasn't able to come and get to the door.
Yeah.
So that's what those types of calls are.
Awesome, awesome. And I see here that you all do animal rescues and all kinds of things, so, thank y'all for being that whole small-town fire department that, it still feels like family.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And one last thing I'd like to close with, at probably our next council meeting, if not maybe the one after, depending on what the agendas look like, I'll be providing a report from ISO. We did go through our audit. It's supposed to be done every 5 years, but this one, they took 10 years to get to us. But that's what sets our insurance ratings. And so we had to go through that audit, and got what I think is some good news. So I'll have a full report at the next council meeting. That'll go a little bit more.
What is that, ISO?
ISO, Insurance Service Organization. I think that's what sets our rating. They grade our community, and the insurance companies use that to determine what their rates are. So.
Good, great way
Basically
to
see how
start the
safe
new
of a
year.
city we are.
Yep. They look at everything. And like I said, we'll do a full presentation on that.
Yeah,
once
that.
one of our next council.
Thank you.
Not bad.
Thank you.
Make sure
Signing
to-
on will be yours.
Make sure to wish everybody Merry Christmas.
He's so nervous.
Okay, moving on to
They were here
the next
cooking
agenda
fire.
item, 5.7.
Yeah.
Here discuss
Yeah,
and
bad
act upon presentation by Alice Police Chief Eden Garcia concerning staffing, operations, intergovernmental cooperation, equipment, usage, procurement,
proud of this
crime, arrest, and prosecution data of the Alice Police Department. Whew.
I said, that's a tough act to follow.
Not you. I apologize for that. I ran out of ink. We're trying to cut back. So just real quick, and thank you for having Mayor and members of the council. Thank you for having me before you. This is our new program that we're still tweaking. As you can see, there's some still numbers missing up on top. But we're trying to make sure that we're able to incorporate all our numbers into the proper boxes. But if you look at the bottom where it says here below list of calls for service, it gives you all the calls that we're going to throughout the month. So we went back from June all the way to September, so every page is a month. So it tells you, like for example, and here's something that's important, accidents. It says 30 accidents, and if you look up on the top, on the little box up here, it says 30 accidents, right? So, and if you go to the next page, 67, 57, and then 69. So those are the amount of accidents that we're working on a monthly basis here in the city of Alice. And I'll get to that and why it's important. But if you look at the calls below, where it says calls for service, 973. That's how many calls for service that we had in the city for the month of on 6/30, from 6/1 to 6/30. Then if you go to 7/1 to 7/31, you have 1,705. If you go to the third page, it goes to 1,688. And then the last one is 1,809. So those are the calls for service that we're dealing, or the officers are dealing with on a monthly basis. And it has a breakdown of all the calls, and that way you're able to see. And I know one of the, I want to bring your attention to contact subjects. So there, it tells you about the people that we're contacting on the streets at night on a daily basis, and it breaks it down here on a monthly basis. So if we go back to 6, there was 75 individuals that we contacted at night. The next page, 150. And so when people ask, are we contacting them? Yes, we are. 194. And the last page was 188. So we're going out late at night, and when we're seeing people walking, we're stopping them and we're IDing these individuals. And it's important that we do those things because it gets an idea of who they are. In case there's a burglary, maybe they were a part of that burglary, God forbid, but maybe they were. Maybe they were a suspect. Maybe they're just walking home, just going out and enjoying the evening. So we just want to make sure that they're okay and that they don't need our help in any ways. So, but it gives you a breakdown of everything that we're doing and how we're handling our calls. And usually our time that for us to respond to a call is less than 3 minutes. For example, we did have a shooting last week, and I won't get into details, but the call came in at 7:23. We arrived at 7:23. We were a block away, just so happened. So it took us within a minute to arrive, and that was a couple of days ago. So those are the things that we do each and every day. These officers, I know it's a stressful job. It's a job they love, but they do a great job, and my hat goes off to them every day. A couple of things that I'd like to what we're doing. I know our fire chief talked about our Lone Star grant. So we did get $724,000. 169, I believe, is going to the fire department. If you recall, and this has been a big topic for the last 2 years, our communication system, it needs to be replaced. It's outdated. They don't even make the parts anymore. And there's been times when our system goes down that we can't communicate with our officers. So we've been able to fix it, and we've had other companies come in and be generous enough to help it. We had a sheriff's department, I think it was from Goliad County, that loaned us an apparatus that we needed to keep our radio going. So my hat's off to them and thank them for everything they do for us, but we do need to replace it. So the whole replacement and what we're looking at is $1.3 million for the whole system. So we plan to do this in phases. Phase 1, we already received the money for the brain. So that's $500,000. So we got that through the grant, Lone Star, at no cost to the city. So from those monies that we have, we're going to install a brand new dispatch system. That'll be brand new. It'll take them 3 months to install, and it's going to run us $500,000. Then we do have some mod monies that we're still waiting for, which would put us closer to that 1.3. And then as we move along, we'll keep applying for grants to get all the available or the rest of the radios and that we may need at that point in time. So again, we're trying to get it through grants. That way we can cover that cost for $1.3 million. Border Star, we recently received $100,000. That also will go to overtime. Also go back to the Lone Star, the remaining $100,000 that we're going to have, that's also going to go to overtime. We did meet with TxDOT. So TxDOT came and noticed the high amount of accidents. So they said we qualified for additional grants, and they're willing to help us. We have to come up with a budget. And so all that money will be utilized for overtime for the officers through TxDOT. So that's another positive for us, even though we're taking a situation like accidents, car accidents, but we're trying to put more enforcement or put out more enforcement in our city to try to see how we could curtail these accidents. And by them giving us this money, hopefully will give us more opportunity for officers to be out in the streets and do overtime, and hopefully stop vehicles. We did receive an armored vehicle. It's for our tactical team. That was something we've been working on for over a year. We finally have it in hand. We have it at a place that we have it at the airport, and it's from the military, and so we were really super nice. I was trying to have it out here for you, but with the weather and stuff, I said, well, we'll just next time I'll make sure we bring it out and we have it out here to showcase. But it's a beautiful machine.
Good.
It's an armored vehicle. We could use it for high rescue operations, water, whatever it may be, and we're ready to go. The guys, we worked hard at it. And we were able to get this piece of equipment. And that's about $1 million equipment at no cost to us. So that was really awesome for us. So those are some of the good things that are happening for us in our city. Animals. So I know that, and I take the blame for this. We've been somewhat laxed on response to animals, right? Dogs on the streets. And we wait for calls to come in, and we spend a lot of time. But I want to be more proactive and get rid of the dogs that are out there just running around and in our city. So last week, I made it a mandate that we tackle these problems. Last week, we caught 29. As of now, of this week, we have 14. And we're going to continue this path until we clean our streets of dogs that are just wandering around. And, we're finding shelters for them. Please don't think we're doing something bad with them. Not at all. But we are finding shelters for them. And we have teamed up with other shelters to find placement for these dogs. And that way we get them homes and get them off the streets. So that's been a big mandate for our city, our department. And that's the route that we're going to try to see what we could achieve to make it safer. I have looked at purchasing more kennels. Because we need more kennels. And so I'll sit down with our staff and we'll go over how many more we need, because we do need. We're at capacity right now. And so we can't put any more. So, but we need to add a couple of more, probably about 4 more, and we'll go from there.
Chief, is there anything that the citizens can do to aid in comforting, like the pets, for example, when they're at our dog pound, like for winter?
So we do get a lot of help from our community. I mean, we do have programs that come in. They bring us blankets, heaters.
Okay.
We're pretty much set over there right now for the winter.
Okay.
During the heat, they bring us fans.
Okay.
We have big fans there. We even have a watering system just to cool them down.
Nice.
We try everything we can to keep them going and keep them healthy. We've had dogs, and I'm ashamed to say this, but I'm a dog lover, so we've had dogs in our kennel for 2 years that we just can't find homes for. But they're good dogs, and they don't deserve to die. Right? We deserve to give them a life, and so we'll keep on.
Are we doing any type of program that advertises these animals and puts them on social media pages or anything like that?
We do. We have Animal Control has a page, and they occasionally update it with the different animals that are there. But for the most part, these shelters that come in and they help us, and they'll take 10, 15 at one time, and they'll take them with them. And we have some in Colorado. We have others in different parts of the state of Texas. And they take these dogs and they try to help us to get them homes. It's work for us. I wish there was more that we could do for these animals, but we try all we can and talk about it. They give us food. Their bags food. It wasn't during the holidays. They gave us 2 truckloads full of dog food and cat food. I mean, we also have to deal with cats.
Right.
There are different programs that we do utilize to try to make sure that all of them are healthy and drinking and so forth. Dr. Sam, I can't say enough. He's been a great help for us.
And you've all been passed inspections as well.
Every year, ma'am.
Yep.
They've done a great job. Every year,
Yep.
we have passed inspections, and they've done a great job.
Y'all
You
have
have-
done great in that. I mean, just the facility itself,
It's changed.
totally different. So thank you for that.
I have to thank Anita and her staff. They've done a great job. I wish I'd love to take credit for it, but I'll never take credit where I have no part in. They do a great job, and my hat goes off to them. And thank you. I'll make sure they know.
There was an incident where we had received a call in reference to a dog that had been abandoned and was really bad, and the police officers came and tried to do the best they could, and then I went over there and I received a picture of that dog. So thanks to everyone's efforts, this one lady adopted him, and you should see the dog. He's so healthy. He
Happy
looks
and healthy.
looks beautiful. They
Yeah.
named him Faith, or named her Faith.
Hey, yeah.
There's some,
Beautiful.
and along the lines of it, now that we're in the lines of animals, and I know in certain areas, especially in the Morningside area, we have a lot of deer that are
Oh.
there. I know there's people with feeders also that are feeding these animals there in that area. And it could be a hazard. I mean, they're beautiful to look at, but, just drive with caution. And so we've also been approached about maybe putting some signs of deer crossings in this area, especially by the golf course. Those are things that we could look at later, but we do have to do something. And I mean, they're beautiful to look at, but I've had some of the neighbors in that area send me pictures of animals that have been run over, and I understand.
Good deer blind out there.
But a deer blind-
I was hoping you wouldn't say that to anybody. I don't want anybody to know there's deer out there.
I've seen them on the golf course.
Quiet.
So staffing, you have one staff member there, or how many now
Wait a minute.
at the animal shelter?
We have two men.
You have two?
Yes, we have two that are working there. George, who was our maintenance at one point, is now at animal control. He's been wonderful.
Good.
He is what we needed, and he's been really, really helpful.
Good move
Good.
there.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
So they call out to animal control and nobody answers. Can't get an answer. They just need to call the police station.
That is correct.
Anonymous.
So we have
Make sure
transferred,
everybody knows.
yes, sir. So we have transferred the number, because before you used to call the animal, and I didn't want that, because if no one's there, it just rings, and then we get the complaints and comes to City Hall. So if you call the number should be the 664-0186 number. That's the police department. From here, they send out, they call out animal control. That way, there's always someone here to answer your call.
And still on staff, are you fully staffed police?
Now, I have one opening,
One opening?
possibly two.
Okay.
But we do have one opening. We do have applicants. And we hope to hire to get that filled. But we may have another opening coming up.
And then it's patrol or
Yes, ma'am.
patrol both
Patrol
of them?
division. Yes,
Okay.
ma'am.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Just real quick, I guess kind of going back with the animal deal here. On your service, call to service, you've got livestock on the road. Does that dogs, or is that like cattle?
So it can be,
goat,
it can be a horse, it can be a cow, it can be, anything that's related, a goat, could be out on the road, and sometimes we do have them.
In the city limits?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
And
Typically,
the,
it's cows. They come down on,
Morningside.
by the golf course or
Yeah.
on Sunset, yeah.
and
know
what
what
would be
I
a
did.
dog at large call?
Roaming around streets.
Okay, so it's just, I got you.
So we do get calls like that of dogs roaming, so we'll go and pick them up or see what we can do. Sometimes we'll even have to try to see how we can pen them up. I know we also have cages that we set out to capture these animals. So we also, I know a lot of the community know, but let the rest know that we do have cages. They have to sign some documents that we have to get their permission to put them on their property. Once they okay it, we set traps there and we capture whatever, whether it's a dog, whether even a possum or something of that magnitude.
I have
Go.
one more question
Yes,
on
ma'am.
this report.
Yes, ma'am.
You gave us a report here for a couple of months, right?
4 months, yes, ma'am.
4 months, okay. I noticed that the June, July, and August, you have 4 shots fired
Yes, ma'am.
on each one. So that's just a coincidence that there's 4 on each month?
So it could be, right?
Does-
So
Is this this is a system of the reports that are being entered, right?
Correct. So shot fires, like for example, could be actual shots fired. The last time that we had a report of shots fired, it actually wasn't shots fired because we went to people's homes and saw a video camera. It was fireworks, right? They were letting fireworks off.
Okay.
But the call comes in as shots
Oh,
fired.
got it, okay.
Sometimes shooting at a deer on Morningside, back in the back, you'll hear shots fired. So that's how it's reported.
Okay, I got you.
I know even we were qualifying with our firearms at the gun range, which is at the fairgrounds. People were reporting gun shots fired.
Okay.
This is what you're going to get, shots fired.
I understand. All right, thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Anything else?
I had just a real quick comment.
Yes.
Just want to applaud you for the proactive, approach on the loose dogs that are out, because I'm a animal lover myself. I love dogs. Got too many dogs now, but I mean, that's how you start, right? Because I mean, it's like the definition of insanity, right? Just doing the minimum, and then we're always to capacity, but little by little, those dogs just they're out there, so what are they doing, right? Just keep on doing what they do. And so hopefully, like if you just start, kind of nipping it little, an elephant one bite at a time, eventually get there, and hopefully you'll see some results down the road where, we're doing our job. Because if everybody takes care of their dogs, we don't need a dog pound, right?
That's correct.
So-
And I appreciate that, sir. I know they're doing a great job, a wonderful job. I always feel we can always do better. And that's what we do a good job, but we can always do better. And we have to keep striving. That's important. And let this community know we don't want them to lose hope. We don't want them to lose the confidence in our department. But I know we're not perfect. But we will give you everything we got. I do promise.
Thank you, Chief.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chief.
Merry Christmas to you.
Yes. Okay. Council, we'll move on to agenda item number 6, adjournment. May I have a motion?
Mayor, I make a motion to adjourn.
Okay.
Second?
We have a first and a second. All in favor of adjournment, say aye.
Aye.
Okay. Any opposed? Do we have ayes to adjourn?
Aye.
We do, aye.
All right. All right.
The darndest part is I
Meeting.